Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Supporting Yah's Cornerstone. My name is Heshra, and that name means moved by Yah. Today we're going to continue in the mind building series that I started a few weeks ago, and I want to just give you tips on how to help yourself build your mind in a way to help yourself progress in the things that you're trying to change concerning Yahweh, things He may be showing you in your character, things He may be showing you need to actually do better, how to make sure that you're feeding your mind in a way that is helpful to that progress. The mind can be like soil. If you grow a garden, then you know that even if you just grow flowers, you know that sometimes when the soil is lacking something, it hinders the growth of the plants. And so the mind can be the same way. If it's lacking in something, in some form of knowledge or some form of motivation or energy to help keep it going, then certain things you're trying to accomplish, it may your thinking may hinder you from being able to accomplish it or accomplish it in a timely fashion. So the mind is very important, essential in any changes you're trying to make, especially concerning the Creator. So that leads to the topic for today. What are you reading? What you read is important. Okay. A lot of times you hear, you should read. And over the years, I've met people that read, but then what they're reading sometimes hinders their walk with Yah or cause them to stop walking with the Creator, which is a problem. Okay. What you read can help or hinder you in your journey with Yahweh. It can help or hinder you in being the wife, mother, sister, daughter that Yah is working with you to be. It can help or hinder that. So we know that what we want is to progress in how Yah desires for us to be, not as human beings and as women. Over the years, I know with me, I don't read fiction. Okay, so I stopped reading fiction in when I was 15 years old. Okay, it was not a planned decision. It's not something that I planned to do. It's just something that happened. I've always read, and mostly from the time I could read up until I was 15 years old, I always read fiction things, mystery novels, mystery books, and different stories and things like that. Up until the time I was 15. If you looked at some of my other videos, my Get to Know Me videos, then you may know that I got pregnant at 14. I had my first child. I gave birth at 15. So that might have had something to do with that. Life got really serious for me as far as thinking when I got pregnant at 14. And so when I say got serious for me, I mean I was going through a serious thing. And a lot of things happened surrounding me becoming pregnant at 14. So that may have had something to do with me pausing reading the fiction books. But it's not a decision that was thought out that I planned to do. It's just I stopped. And I never went back to doing it again. So after that. So even to this day, I'm 45 years old and I don't read fiction. I don't read fantasy novels, romance novels, any kind of fake stories, fiction books. I don't read that even to this day. And I'm 45 years old. Now, it's up to you whether you read fiction. I'm just telling you, my reading patterns over the years. So if you do read fiction, which I know that many sisters do, then I would just suggest that if you read fiction, definitely I would eliminate science fiction and I would eliminate romance novels off that list. Why? Because romance novels can, and if you see me looking down, I'm just glancing at my notes sometimes, but romance novels can put false ideas about marriage and relationships into your mind, and that's not good. That's not good. It can give you a false perception of how those things should go. And there's a difference in romance storytelling and sometimes how things actually go in a marriage and in certain areas of relationships than what people write in those types of things, in those types of books. And then the next thing about the romance novels is that they can possibly cause you to think, um, cause you to think in a cause your mind to think maybe positively about having casual sex, because sometimes in these books I think they have casual sexual encounters, which we know that is not the way of the creator. That's not the lifestyle he wanted us to live. So that's the thing about romance novels too. The next thing I would say, definitely eliminate science fiction, because it can cause you to meditate on ideas and adventures that Yah didn't plan for humanity, and still does not have plan for humanity in the new kingdom. So that's also something to think about concerning that. So those are two types of fiction that I would suggest you eliminate off your list if you read fiction books. When choosing which fiction books that you should read, try to choose things that could possibly be based off of the true future of mankind. You know, positive things that actually could happen. Maybe there's fiction books on homesteaders, or something, or I don't know. But just things that could possibly happen that aren't, that don't promote too many drastic and immoral or secular ideas. So just be mindful of that. Personally, as far as what I read and what I've been reading since I was 15 and up until now there were times in my life that I had stopped reading. So when I give you that age gap, there's times in there when I wasn't reading at all. But when I was reading, and over the years as I continued to read, then a lot of what I enjoy reading over the years are autobiographies. What I like the most, have loved the most about autobiographies, is not only are you getting a true story. Most people's lives are pretty action filled for the most part, and depending on whose autobiography you're reading, you also get to hear about that time period that they're in. And a lot of times that can be even more detailed and better than reading the actual history of that time period, because you're getting it from somebody who was actually there. And so that's something I have really enjoyed about reading autobiographies. I've also read over the years various history books. Okay. Um, and another thing about autobiographies, if history bores you, and but you realize that you it'd be helpful to you read more of it, then whatever point in time in history that you want to know about, find out about a person that lived through that time that may have an autobiography. And so that'll help you on your way, and it'll make it a little more less boring to you, you know. Next, over the years, my husband and myself, we've read a select number of self-help, so to speak, books, but we've been real selective about the type of self-help type of books that we read. But those are things we've read over the years too, not just any self-help book, because you have to be careful with those for sure, but a select number of those too we've read over the years. You want what you read to not be a weight in your mind in an unrighteous way. Okay? You don't want to read a series of something and at the end of the day it leaves you wanting to smoke cigarettes all the time, because maybe the book, the main characters was constantly smoking cigarettes and they made it seem like a positive thing, so to speak. Or maybe the core of the book is angry, or something like that. And so it leaves you feeling like that, or with those types of feelings. You want to avoid books, fiction, or whatever the case may be, or that leave you with just meditating, and that may turn into a desire to do things that you shouldn't, or think in a way that you shouldn't. That's when it comes to fiction and nonfiction. So you want to be careful with that overall. Over the years, also, I've read magazines too, sometimes too. In the last years, of course, when I was living a secular life, I would sometimes read, I think, Ebony and Essence. And over the years, every now and then, I would read a Ebony or Essence magazine. Also, but not all the time. And then most of the time, I don't. But magazines I read pretty regularly over the years are Mother Earth News magazine, Countryside magazine, and Backwoods magazine, because those are like farm homesteading type magazines. And so I've read a good bit of those over the years, and I've kept a lot of them because they have garden tips, a lot of garden tips, canning tips, things like that. So also be mindful of the type of magazines that you read. We also used to have some of the Smithsonian magazine too, off and on over the years. But and then there was another one. I can't think of the name of it right now. American Legacy. American Legacy is a magazine. I want to say it's about our people. So it used to touch base with the history of our people here in the United States, the history of Hebrew Israelites, or of they call us African American, but the history of our people here in the United States. And so that was a real interesting magazine. I'm not sure if it's still being published, but our libraries used to carry it, and I think I subscribed to it at one point. But it was called American Legacy, and that was a pretty good magazine too. So I'm going to show you just a few of the books that I've read over the years that I've enjoyed. And in a series to come, starting in October, I'll choose a book maybe each week or every other week that I've read and kind of share it with you a little, share a little of it with you and what I enjoyed about the book and the points that I got out of it, the things that in the book that kind of stuck with me out of it. But right now, I'll just share a few of the ones that I've read over the years. So, one I've read is Israelites and Jews, The Significant Difference. And it's by Kohen Mikael Ben Levi from out of Guyana. He's from here, I think from the New York area, but him and another group of our people moved to Guyana. But this is just one of his books, and it is a really good book. A really good book. It's also a good book for, we started reading it in homeschool also. So, but this is a really good book. Israelites and Jews, The Significant Difference by Kohen Mikael Ben Levi. So that's a pretty good book. And if I didn't say, this book is about the difference in being a Hebrew Israelite and being Jewish. Okay, really good book. Another book I've read is the book called No Excuses. My husband bought this book. He read it and I read it. It's No Excuses by Brian Tracy. It's concerning the power of self-discipline. Really good book with really good tips in it. For example, some of the chapters are self-discipline and character, self-discipline and responsibility, self-discipline and goals. So, really good book. I bought this from library book sale. Over the years, I bought a lot of books from library book sales. It's a good way to get books you need at a low price. But this is one of those books. It's called An Answer to History. Now, on Link TV, they did years ago. They did a interview. They showed an interview that someone did of this Shah's wife. He was the Shah of Iran at one time in the 70s, but they did aired an interview someone did about his wife. So that's how I knew of him. And when I saw the book, I said, "Oh, that's that lady's husband that I saw on Link TV." I did not know her husband had a book, but I recognized him from the interview and history they did on Link TV with his wife that's living. He has passed away. He passed away. He was dying as he was writing this book. And that was, I want to say, in the 70s, I think. Now, the interesting part about this book is that his people learn about their ancient history. A lot of times, our people, we don't learn about our ancient history. We learn from when our people got on the slave ships to the point that we came here to America. But it was interesting in this book that they learned from ancient. And in this book, he mentions about one of their kings, King Cyrus. And if you remember, King Cyrus was the Persian king who allowed Nehemiah and Ezra and a group of our people to go back to Jerusalem at the time and rebuild the temple. And he mentions King Cyrus in here. It is neat to hear. And when I was reading it brought to my awareness that these people have to know who we are, for them to know the ancient history. And he mentions that King Cyrus, helped other nations and accepted them practicing their religion. Like, he know his people know who we are. So that was neat. Another book I picked up from the library book sale was a book called African Diary. And it's by Nakai Pillman. I think she actually lived in South Africa, but at that time, which I think was during the 70s or 60s, she took her and her daughter to travel to another part of Africa. And so she took notes during her time there, and this is that story, which is real interesting story. Next, we were gifted this book years and years ago by an elder who sells books. But the book is called A Communion of the Spirits. African American quilters, preservers, and their story by Roland L. Freeman. And so this is a book about elders of our people who made quilts. And so he shows a lot of those quilts. And the elders tell stories. I'm trying to see. And so the elders also tell stories from that time too, from the time period they lived in, and sometimes even I think about the quilts themselves. Certain quilts that they made had a story surrounding it, okay, or there was a story surrounding it. So I used to really enjoy this book. You can see that it's kind of worn. Yeah, it's kind of worn. So last but not least, a book that we have really enjoyed reading over the years was the book As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. This is in extended version, but there's a short version also that you can get. But As a Man Thinketh, really good book. Really good book. And it's kind of about having discipline and having how your thinking affects, your actions and things like that. But it is a very good book. And so I'm going to read just a little piece of it so you can get an idea. But it says, thought and character are one. And as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer condition of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. Yeah, that's just a portion. Another little part. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. Okay. Yeah, but really good book. Really good book. And so in the book series that I'll start, if y'all's will, in the month of October, then I'll go over some of these books, if y'all's will, and the points I got out of them and why I like them, and maybe even read a few sections out of them too. And these may be books that you want to add to your collection or read also. A lot of older books are cheaper than what you may think, especially if you go on like eBay, Amazon. There's thrift books. Thrift books also sells on eBay too, but it's kind of it can be cheaper than what you think sometimes to build you a nice book collection. But I hope that these things have helped what I spoke about today. Before I end this video, I want to say that this month, for the month of September, especially since I just started this channel this month, that's why I did so many get to know me videos, because I wanted to go ahead and allow you all to kind of get an idea of who I am, and a little bit of concerning my past and now. So that's why I did so many. But from October on out, if y'all will, I'll only be doing probably 1 or 2 get to know me videos per month. So that's something I wanted to say. And then in the month of October, as I said before, if y'all will, I'll start the book series where I share books that that I've read. I'll try to start that, if y'all will, in October. So I just want to say, I want to thank everyone for their time. I ask that you subscribe and to the channel and consider sharing these videos, or please share these videos with others. So I want to try to, hopefully something that I say here can be of help to you in your walk with Yahweh. And my contact information, you can email me at yahscornerstone@gmail.com. yahscornerstone@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram at supporting Yah's Cornerstone on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page, and the Facebook page is called Supporting Yah's Cornerstone also, and you can contact me there. You're welcome to comment at the bottom of these videos. Is it anything that I can talk about that may be helpful to you? Be mindful that I'm not going to speak on things that if I know I can't. That, so, because I'm not gonna try to be here giving you false information or talk about things that I don't know about. But if it's something on your mind that you want to ask me, or you like to see a video on that will be helpful to you in your walk with Yah as a woman, mother, wife, daughter, whatever it is, please, you can also leave a comment at the bottom of these videos, or contact me through Instagram or Facebook. And so, thank you for your time. Shalom, shalom.